Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that everything you've built your life around, your job, your image, your social status, your achievements, was not truly chosen by you. It was handed to you like a script, written long before you could even read. And like an actor on stage, you followed it. Study hard, get the degree, find a career, make money, build a family, buy the house, stay safe, retire, and then, but wait for the end. But what if, in that moment, a voice inside whispers, "None of this feels real"? That voice isn't madness. It's awareness. And it's the beginning of the most dangerous and liberating journey a man can take.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
We all inherit a narrative. Society rewards those who follow it and punishes those who don't. But what happens to the man who dares to question it? Who sees the trap in comfort and the cage in routine? Who recognizes that the script written for him was designed not for his soul, but for his obedience? These men, the ones who walk away, are not always seen, but they exist. They disappear from the cities, turn down high salaries, reject fame, and sometimes even vanish into forests, deserts, or remote villages. But make no mistake, they are not broken. They are reclaiming their freedom. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how can you become who you truly are when your life is built on a template handed to you by others? We grow up trying to impress people we don't even know, chasing validation that never quite satisfies. Every accomplishment becomes a fleeting high, a momentary applause before the curtain falls, and we are alone again. The man who walks away doesn't do so because he failed the system. Often it's because he succeeded and found the victory hollow. There's a silent crisis happening among men today. It's not about money, not about relationships, not about politics. It's existential. A deep, aching sense that something is missing. That the world we've created is too loud, too fast, too artificial. And in that chaos, the soul begins to whisper. Some ignore it. Others drown it in distractions, alcohol, entertainment, endless productivity. But a few, a rare few, they listen. And once you truly listen, you can never unhear it. You see, walking away isn't about escape. It's about confrontation. You confront your own illusions. You strip away everything that isn't essential. You stop performing. And in that silence, you meet yourself perhaps for the first time. The man who walks away is not weak. He is terrifying. Because he no longer needs approval. He no longer fears exile. He has chosen truth over belonging. This path isn't romantic. It's brutal. If you've ever wanted to break free, really free, you know how terrifying it is. Loneliness will greet you like a shadow. Doubt will scream in your ear. Your old life will mock you, whispering, "You'll regret this." And yet you keep walking. Why? Because something inside you knows the real prison was never the place you left. It was the mask you wore. Have you ever asked yourself, what would I do if I had no one to impress? If no one was watching, no one applauding, no one judging, what would your life actually look like? Would you still go to that job? Would you still post those photos? Would you still chase the same goals? This question is like a mirror. Most can't look into it. But the man who walks away stares deeply. And what he sees either destroys him or sets him free. The philosopher Diogenes lived in a barrel, mocked kings, and rejected wealth. He said, "He has the most who is most content with the least." Modern society sees that as madness. But is it? Or is it sanity in a world gone mad? We glorify excess, but we starve for meaning. We have more connections, but less intimacy. More comfort, but less courage. The man who walks away doesn't want less life, he wants more. Not more stuff, more truth. But let's be honest, walking away is terrifying. It means letting go of everything that made you feel safe. It means trusting that the unknown holds something more valuable than the familiar. It means you might lose everything: status, friends, family, even your identity. And yet, some still choose it. Why? Because the cost of staying asleep becomes greater than the risk of waking up. There's a moment in every man's life, sometimes at 25, sometimes at 50, when the script no longer satisfies. It could be triggered by loss, betrayal, burnout, or simply a quiet moment of clarity. Suddenly, the ladder you've been climbing is leaning against the wrong wall. And in that moment, you have a choice: keep climbing or jump off. The jump is terrifying, but the climb is killing you. So what's the psychology behind these men? What drives someone to abandon the script? It's not rebellion. It's not laziness. It's not failure. It's awakening. The realization that life is not about playing roles, but about becoming whole. These men often spend years in silence, reading, writing, meditating, walking, questioning. They live simply. They seek depth, not distraction. They are not trying to be better than anyone. They are trying to be real. Here's a question to sit with. If you stripped away your job, your possessions, your relationships, your history, who would be left? Most people can't answer that question. But the man who walks away dares to find out. And when he does, he discovers something strange. The world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. In fact, for the first time, he can breathe. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." The man who walks away is searching for his why. Not the one society gave him. Not success, not fame, not security. Something deeper, something eternal. And once he finds it, he becomes unstoppable. Not because he is powerful, but because he is grounded. He knows who he is, and nothing is more dangerous to the system than a man who is truly free. But let's not romanticize it. This path is not filled with Instagram sunsets and poetic monologues. It's filled with doubt, sweat, hunger, and silence. It's the kind of silence that can break you or rebuild you. The kind of silence that strips away everything false. And if you survive it, you emerge with something unshakable: integrity. The kind of integrity that doesn't bend for attention, doesn't bow for approval, and doesn't break under pressure. We must ask ourselves, are we living our truth or just performing it? Are we building a life or maintaining a facade? The man who walks away forces us to confront these questions. He becomes a mirror for the rest of us. And that's why society fears him. He is proof that another way is possible. That a man can live without the script and still thrive. You may not be ready to walk away completely. Few are. But what if you started with one step, one moment of honesty? One act of courage, one decision to stop pretending. That's how it begins. That's how the mind breaks free. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. And if you follow that whisper, it leads you not into isolation, but into authenticity. To walk away is not to vanish, but to return to the self, to the source, to the part of you that existed before the world told you who to be. It is not about escaping responsibility, but about reclaiming the right to define what matters. And yet, the moment you take that first step, you will feel the full weight of society trying to pull you back. Friends will question you. Family will warn you. Strangers will judge you. Why? Because your very act of walking away confronts them with the question they've been avoiding. What if I'm not living my truth either? We live in a time where conformity is disguised as freedom. We are told to be ourselves, but only within the pre-approved boundaries of culture. Step outside those lines, and you risk being labeled a failure, a dropout, or worse, a threat. But there are some who dare to step anyway. These men are not antisocial. They are hyper-conscious. They are not broken. They are breaking the illusion. They are not lost. They are choosing to be found, but on their own terms. There is a profound psychological shift that occurs when a man stops chasing validation. It's not easy. The ego doesn't go quietly. It screams for attention, for applause, for reassurance. But the man who walks away begins to hear a different voice, the quiet, steady voice of his soul. That voice doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply waits. And when you finally listen, it changes everything. Soren Kierkegaard once said, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are." How many of us are living that despair in silence? Smiling on the outside while suffocating inside. Performing enthusiasm for a life that no longer fits. The man who walks away reaches a point where pretending becomes more painful than the unknown. So he stops, not because he knows what comes next, but because he's finally willing to find out. And what does he find in that space of solitude? First, he finds discomfort. The silence is deafening. Without distractions, he is forced to face every part of himself, the fears, the regrets, the lies he's told to survive. There is no audience to impress, no clock to race against. Time slows, the mind rebels, but slowly something begins to shift. He starts to see with new eyes. He sees that the success he was chasing was never his vision. It was inherited, absorbed, programmed. He sees that much of what he believed about himself was shaped by other people's expectations. He sees that freedom is not found in having more, but in needing less. And he realizes, often for the first time, that peace is not something you achieve, it's what remains when everything false is stripped away. There's a moment in this journey when a man feels completely alone. No map, no guide, just him and the unknown. But then, unexpectedly, he begins to discover others like him. Not in crowds, not in mainstream spaces, but in whispers, in books, in moments of recognition. He sees it in the eyes of the monk, the artist, the wanderer, the philosopher. These are his brothers, not bound by blood, but by truth. They too have walked away, and in their presence he knows he is not alone. This isn't about becoming a hermit or rejecting all of society. It's about discernment. It's about choosing what aligns with your essence and letting go of what doesn't. The man who walks away may still live in the city, still go to work, still interact with the world. But he does so with new eyes. He no longer plays the game unconsciously. He sees the rules, and he chooses when to engage and when to walk away. Walking away is a metaphor. It could mean leaving a career that no longer feeds your soul. It could mean ending a relationship built on lies. It could mean turning off the noise and sitting in silence until your real voice returns. It could mean spending a year in the mountains, or it could mean spending 10 minutes a day in meditation. The action is less important than the intention. What matters is that you begin to live from the inside out, not the outside in. Let me ask you something unsettling. If you had never been praised for anything in your life, what would you still do? Not for money, not for recognition, not for status, but purely for the love of it. That question reveals your essence. And most of us are so buried in obligation that we've forgotten what that essence even feels like. The man who walks away digs until he remembers. There is a reason we idolize figures like Thoreau, who went to the woods to live deliberately, or Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire yet remained humble and introspective, or Lao Tzu, who vanished from society before writing the Tao Te Ching. These men understood that the deepest truths are not shouted from stages, they are whispered in the quiet. And only those who walk away from the noise can hear them. But there is a danger here too. The danger of arrogance, or of thinking you are above others because you have awakened. True awakening is humble. It doesn't seek to convert or condemn. It simply is. The man who walks away does not judge those who stay. He understands that every man must walk his own path. What he offers is not superiority, but invitation. An invitation to look deeper, to ask harder questions, to live more honestly. And yet the temptation to return is always there. The old life calls like a siren. The comfort, the routine, the applause, it can be intoxicating. That's why the journey must be anchored in something deeper than emotion. It must be rooted in a commitment to truth, because only truth can survive the storms of solitude. So what happens when a man truly walks away? He becomes dangerous, but not in the way the world fears. He becomes dangerous because he has nothing to prove. He is not easily manipulated. He cannot be bought. He sees through illusion. He listens more than he speaks. He acts from purpose, not pressure. And in a world addicted to performance, that kind of presence is revolutionary. In his eyes you see stillness. Not the stillness of apathy, but the stillness of a man who is no longer at war with himself. He has wrestled his demons. He has walked through his darkness. And now he stands, not above you, beside you, inviting you to do the same. There's a quote from Alan Watts that says, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." The man who walks away understands this. He stops trying to fix everything. He stops trying to be everything. He lets go. And in that letting go, clarity returns. The water settles. The truth emerges. The modern world tells men to hustle harder, grind longer, compete relentlessly. But what if the real challenge is not to do more, but to be more, to be present, to be whole, to be real? That's the path of the man who walks away. He is not passive, he is powerful. But his power is not loud. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. So now I ask you, what are you still clinging to that no longer serves your soul? What mask are you still wearing to gain approval from people who don't even know the real you? What would happen if, just for a moment, you put it all down and listened? The path is not easy. It will cost you everything that isn't real. But what you gain cannot be taken. You gain your voice, your clarity, your purpose, and ultimately your freedom. Freedom is a strange thing. We all say we want it, yet few are prepared to pay its price. Because real freedom, the kind that comes from walking away from society's script, is not found in rebellion, but in responsibility. Not the kind of responsibility society imposes, but the responsibility to live in alignment with your truth, no matter the cost. The man who walks away knows the cost, and he pays it. Not because he has to, but because he must. For him, living a lie is no longer an option. He would rather lose everything than betray himself one more time. It begins with silence. Silence from the noise of expectations. Silence from the endless comparisons. Silence from the inner critic that echoes the voices of everyone he's ever tried to impress. In that silence, he begins to hear something else, something ancient, something sacred. A quiet knowing that says you were meant for more. Not more achievements, more meaning. That's what he's walking toward, step by step, breath by breath. Not to escape life, but to finally enter it. And once he tastes this silence, the old life becomes unbearable. The fake smiles, the performative conversations, the chasing of empty trophies, it all feels like a dream he can no longer go back to. You know this feeling. Maybe you felt it too. That strange discomfort in rooms where everyone's pretending. That gnawing sense that you're playing a role you never auditioned for. That whisper that says, there has to be more than this. That whisper is not your enemy. It's your soul trying to wake you up. The man who walks away is not running. He's returning to himself, to nature, to simplicity, to the original rhythm of life. He may still be in the city, but inside, he's in a forest. He may still have a job, but he's no longer defined by it. He may still speak with others, but he no longer needs their validation. The world hasn't changed, but he has, and that changes everything. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most men don't walk away because time is running out. They walk away because they realize how much of it has already been wasted on things that never really mattered. And they decide, finally, that the rest of their life will be lived intentionally. Not perfectly, not safely, but truthfully. This truth is not a concept, it's a feeling. You know it when you're aligned with it. Your body relaxes. Your mind sharpens, your heart softens. You stop asking for permission to be yourself. You stop trading authenticity for acceptance. You stop chasing and start being. But this kind of presence takes practice. It requires facing every part of yourself you've tried to ignore. And yes, it will hurt. You'll grieve the life you thought you wanted. You'll mourn the identity you built to survive. You'll feel the sting of letting go of friends who no longer understand you, of goals that no longer inspire you, of habits that no longer serve you. But beneath that grief is gold, The man who walks away doesn't just lose, he sheds. And what remains is not a lesser version of himself, but a clearer one. So what does he do, this man who walks away? He simplifies. He slows down. He listens. He creates. He studies. He walks. He reflects. He finds joy in things others overlook: a sunrise, a genuine conversation, a moment of stillness. He does not need much, because he has learned to find wealth in awareness. He is no longer starving for more, he is finally full. And as he becomes more whole, something amazing happens. He begins to serve. Not out of obligation, not to be seen, but because it's natural. A presence radiates. Wisdom spreads. He becomes a light in a dark room, not flashy, but steady. Or others begin to notice. They ask, what changed? And he doesn't preach. He simply lives. And in doing so, he becomes the invitation for others to do the same. But not everyone will understand. Some will call him selfish. Others will call him crazy. And he must be okay with that. Because truth is rarely popular. It threatens the comfort of the crowd. But he's no longer here to fit in. He's here to wake up. And if that makes others uncomfortable, so be it. He knows the cost of living a lie, and he refuses to pay it anymore. There's a quote by Krishnamurti that says, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." The man who walks away lives by this. He doesn't try to fit into a system that feeds on distraction, division, and disconnection. He creates his own rhythm. He finds his own tribe, or walks alone until he does. He is not a follower. He is not a leader. He is a mirror. And in his presence, others remember who they are. But let's not pretend this journey is clean. It's messy. There are days of doubt, nights of loneliness, moments when the old life calls, seductive and familiar. The path is not straight. It loops, it spirals, it tests you. But every test deepens the transformation. Every fall is a lesson. Every scar is a symbol. And over time, the man who walks away becomes unshakable, not because he avoids pain, but because he has learned to face it. So where do you begin? You begin with honesty. Ask yourself what you're pretending not to know. Ask yourself which parts of your life are built on fear. Ask yourself if you are truly living or just existing. Don't rush to fix it. Just sit with it. Let it burn. Let it reveal. Let it guide. The man who walks away didn't have all the answers. He just stopped lying to himself. And then act, not dramatically, not impulsively, but deliberately. Maybe it's saying no to something that drains you. Maybe it's spending a weekend alone, away from the noise. Maybe it's writing, walking, meditating, creating. Maybe it's having a conversation you've avoided for years. Whatever it is, do it with presence, with courage, with love, and trust that one step leads to another. Eventually, you'll look back and realize you didn't walk away from life. You walked into it, into the raw, unfiltered, unedited truth of your being. You'll realize that you didn't lose yourself. You found yourself. And in doing so, you gave permission for others to do the same. The world doesn't need more men who follow the script. It needs more men who write their own, men who are willing to question, to feel, to stand alone if they must. Men who are not afraid to be seen in their rawest form. Men who walk away not to escape the world, but to change it, not with noise or force, but with presence, with integrity, with truth. So here's the final question. Do you have the courage to walk away from who you were told to be so you can become who you truly are? If the answer is yes, then begin. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because the path is waiting. And deep down, you already know the way.